Hello everyone, it's Natasha from Treasure Books. In this video, we're going to make acrylic paint skins. You don't need any special stuff, you just need acrylic paints. And then of course, what to do with the skins once you make them. All right, let's get started. First thing you need is some type of a non-stick surface. I'm using this reusable baking thing that I obviously don't use for baking. It's plastic, it's non-stick, and it's flat. It's important that it's flat because I tried using this cereal box bag, or cereal bag I should say, and it does work, but you can see how it's crinkled up. When it's crinkled up, it means there's raised surfaces. It's like there's a bit of a wave pattern happening. So when you apply your paint on a non-flat surface like this, the raised parts are going to make the paint somewhat thinner in those areas. So this is the piece that I made using the cereal bag. I mean, it's still okay, but I found that there's, you know, areas like this where there's very, very thin layer of paint. Okay, so that's the only thing. I mean, if you don't have something like this, you can definitely work on a plastic bag, but maybe try and find one that's completely flat if you can. Next thing you need is some type of acrylic paint. Brand doesn't matter, it really doesn't matter. You can only perhaps work with one color or just two colors, or you can have a range of colors. The consistency of the paint is somewhat important. If it's too thick, you might want to dilute it down with a little bit of water. So we'll talk about all of those things as we go. So first I'm going to apply a little bit of this white paint, and you can see how it's kind of runny. But when I lift it up, it doesn't drip. So you don't want it to be completely runny, and you don't want it to be completely, you know, thick. Now, I just want to mention here that I'm not working with any special stuff. There's plenty of videos, like if you want to be professional with this, there's plenty of things that you can use, which I don't have. So I'm only using what I have, which is acrylic paints. Now I'm going to make a nice layer, kind of like a flat, straight layer of this white paint. And I don't want any of this stuff. Like, I want to really cover the surface, and I want to have nice thick edges, because when it comes to peeling this off, it's easier when you have thicker edges. Now this is where a little bit of trial and error comes in, and you don't want to have your layers too thick because they'll take ages to dry. But you don't want to have them too thin, because then it will be very hard to peel off. I don't know, I'm just playing around here with some peaks and valleys. I haven't done that before, but I'm doing it now. And like I said, trial and error, playing around, just do whatever. Next, I'm gonna go in with some black paint, and I know from experience that this black paint is quite thick. So what I'm gonna do is just water it down a little bit. See what I mean? Like, it's definitely thicker than this white one. And now I'll add a tiny little bit of water. There we go. I probably added a little bit too much, but that's okay. I can always add more paint if I need it. And now I'm just going to make sure that that's completely mixed. All right, here's my paint, and I know it's hard to see, but it's not dripping off of the stick. Oh, well, it just did, didn't it? Doesn't matter. We're playing here, so I'm just gonna maybe apply a little bit of black here and there, and now we start playing around. So I wasn't planning for that big black blob there, but that's okay. We'll make it work. So I'm just making little swirls and spreading that paint and creating little patterns, and I have raised bits, and we don't want to have any empty bits. So really, I'm only sort of moving my spatula across the very top of the paint. I'm not going all the way down to the plastic. Okay, at this point, I feel like I want to add more color, so I'm going to go in with gold, even though that looks quite fun. but I want some gold in there. So here's a bit of gold, and now I'm gonna do exactly the same thing that I did with the black. I'm just gonna do it now with the gold. Cleaning my spatula in between. Cleaning every time. Maybe I'll add a bit more black. We're just playing around at this stage. And more playing around. I'm gonna go in with some glitter paint. All right, I think that kind of demonstrates what we're doing here. You can really spend a lot of time, you know, trying to perfect it and make it look nice, but I'm just gonna leave it here. And what I do at this stage is I wanna check that the whole surface is covered. So the way that I do that is by holding it up against a window. So you can see right here, I need another hand. See that spot right there? I need to add more paint there, and then I go and check. You can see there's some bubbles there. This is really hard to show, but you know, we need to cover all of that because that's going to be weak areas when you start to peel everything off. All right, so that was really difficult to show. I hope that you're able to see what I mean, but I'm going to go into the spots with whatever paint, doesn't matter, and just cover them. So the way that I do it is lift it up, check, find a spot. Hi Banjo. Put it down on my desk, fill the gap, lift it up, check again, and do it that way. It seems a bit tedious, but trust me, it's a whole lot of fun, and it kind of gets you in the zone and you're just creating. This is what I've got, and I'm going to leave it because I could be sitting here all day trying to like add little details and fix little things. You can go in and do dots and stuff and all sorts of stuff, swirls, and anyway, that's why I think it's so much fun to do this, because it really gets you in the zone and it's mindless creation, right? Okay, now at this point I'm going to let this dry for at least 24 hours, perhaps even 48 hours. And of course, when the project is done and I have all this leftover paint and I'm not going to be making any more skins, then I just go on and first protect my desk and just do some mark making. I go ahead and make a whole bunch of these random things, and when they're somewhat dry, like this one, I might go in with my second leftover color and just add more fun and more depth, just like that. Maybe even some third color, in this case the glitter. Look at this. How cool does that look? A very simple little piece of ephemera that we can transform into all sorts of fun stuff, as you will see later on in this video. I made a whole bunch of fun stuff just from those leftover paints. These are going to be great additions to all sorts of projects. Look, how cool does this look? And here we are 2 days later. I waited 2 days and this is completely dry, and I'm going to peel it off in just a moment. But before I do that, I want to show you something. Straight after filming that part, I experimented with cheesecloth, and I really love the cheesecloth thing. I just wanted to let you know that before I peel them both off so you can see the difference. Granted, my choice of color for this one here probably isn't the best, but going forward, I think I'll be using cheesecloth. So all I did, you see this here, cheesecloth, it's not excellent quality or anything, but anyway, I have it in my stash, and all I did is put the cheesecloth on top of my thing, the non-stick plastic thing, and then apply the paint in exactly the same way that I did on this one here that I did on video. And then this is another one that I did. So let's start peeling them off. Let's do this one because this is the one that I demonstrated. So you will notice when your paint dries, and by the way, I think 48 hours is probably the way to go. As the paint dries, it becomes thinner because all of the moisture has now evaporated and left the paint. So it can be a little bit difficult to start the peeling process. So you can see that there. And then you can just kind of gently try and find, perhaps the best way to do it is to try and find the thickest part. So you know how we try to leave the edges a little bit thicker so that we can peel it off. That's when, well, now is when that comes in handy. So let's see. I'm having a bit of trouble starting the peeling process here, but anyway, there we go. I think the cheesecloth thing is just a game changer, to be honest. I can't wait to get to it. Okay, and now start gently peeling your paint off, depending on your paint and the thickness. I think my paint was, especially this bottom one, might have been a bit too runny, I suppose, and then it can be quite hard to peel it off, but I kind of just start with the edges and then it all becomes easier. Okay, here we go. So you can see how once we've started at the edges, you know, you have somewhere to pull, and I do it very gently. You know, I don't want to have any rips, and rips, banjo's just going crazy. Rips can happen, so that's something, you know, that's okay, I suppose, if that happens. I find this whole process so satisfying. And here we go. There's the skin. Look how cool that looks. Okay, listen. If this doesn't make you want to make some skins right now, then I don't know what will. Look at this. And then, oh, look at this. I can just play around with this the whole day. Okay, moving along. This is what I've been waiting for. Let's see if the peeling process is any easier. I'm really hoping. Oh, look at this. Oh my goodness. Look at this. It just comes off. Just came right off. Oh, I can see some. This is from the bubbles. I can see some holes. Now, if I didn't have that cheesecloth there, that would have ripped. So look at that. All right, let's turn it to the correct side. You know, when it's close up like this, from afar the colors don't look that great, but actually when it's close up like this, that looks really cool. Loving how that looks. I think cheesecloth is the way to go, because not only do you have the colors and the shine from the paint, you also have the texture from the cheesecloth. Now that is pretty cool. All right, here's another one that I did off camera, and I'm thinking sometimes perhaps they don't even have to be peeled off. You can just keep them on the plastic and then cut your shapes and things that you want to use in your projects directly from the plastic, but I'm just gonna peel it off because it's satisfying. This skin is very, very thin. By the looks of it, I water it down too much, and you can see like little rips happening here. Very, very thin. I'll show you in a moment. I have a rip there, and you can see, like, I don't know how well you can see, but it's actually quite thin, still quite satisfying. And I can't stop saying satisfying, because it's, I mean, even if I can, like, I just had an idea to scrunch it up like that because it's so thin, and then use it scrunched up in a project. So when they're so thin like this, oh my goodness, look at that. Like, does this make you wanna go and make some skins? Look. Okay, so some of the questions that you might have at this point, especially looking at this skin here, is it sticky? And if I put it like inside my journal and stuff like that, will things stick to it? Well, let's have a look. All right, here are some skins that I have previously made, and I stack them on top of one another, and you can see this one here. I mean, it was sitting like that, and this part was folded over, and it didn't stick to itself, and it didn't stick to the skin underneath. This one here, I don't know if it's because it's too thin. It's very, very thin. It's sticking to itself. This one here, you can see like they kind of do retain a little bit of stickiness, as do, you know, when you have paint in an art journal and stuff. And I suppose that can easily be fixed if you seal it with something. But I don't know if it's to do with the paints, but my skins are not sticky until this one. And I'm thinking, I mean, I can unstick it, but I'm thinking it's because it's so thin. So I'm gonna just work with the flow, and I'm gonna use this skin in this form because I think that's also quite interesting. Okay, and the one that I made on video, you can see it's not, when I do this, let's play around like I did with the other one, and then, you know, it doesn't get stuck to itself. So it seems as if it's actually the fact that this one's really, really thin. So anyway, let's get on with the project. So once you make your skins and you're done playing with them, because let me tell you, it's very satisfying, what do you do with them? Okay, well, this one I will do something with it in this video. Actually, what I think I might do is create a project on the fly using the skins. I don't know, might use this one because I love it, might use this one because I also love it because it's all crunchy. And I'm gonna create a project on the fly. I'm not gonna think too much about it. And then after I have done that, I'm going to show you all the other things that I've made using acrylic skins to give you plenty of ideas on what to do with yours. Okay, let's make something. So considering I have a whole bunch of this stuff that I did with the leftover paint, of course I'm going to make something with this. And we're just going to create without thinking too much. So I have a piece of cardstock here, folded in half. And straight away I'm thinking that this is going to be some kind of a journal cover. To be honest with you, the skins I wouldn't personally use inside a junk journal. I feel like the pages will stick, the paper will stick to this. So in an art journal like this, when there's all sorts of stuff happening and randomness and just having fun, I would definitely stick with the skins in there. And then, I don't know, maybe I would spray like a fixative or something, or maybe run a little bit of talcum powder over it to make it less sticky. Or they say candle wax, if you run a bit of a candle over your little paintings and acrylic skins in this case, then that would also help with the stickiness. But I think putting this much time into making the skins, waiting for them to dry and all of that stuff, I think there should be a star of the show and there should be front and center. All right, I'm gonna fold this piece down because I've got these random cracky pieces in there. Oh, look at that, perfect size. I'm just playing around. Now, I want to use this skin scrunched up, so I'm gonna scrunch it up even more. Or actually, I'm flattening it down, but look at those beautiful wrinkles. We love wrinkles, don't we? Okay, now I'm just playing around and I'm gonna speed all of this up and I'm just deciding what goes where. I feel like this needs to be broken down by something. You see how they're blending too much, so that's why I chose a random book page that I could find. This is a beautiful vintage. You can tell it's very old. Anyway, and now I'm gonna play around and see where it takes me. So of course, when it comes to using the skins, you can, you know, cut out shapes. I think that's pretty straightforward. Okay, using a piece of another skin, I'm just gonna go for it here. I'm not thinking too much. I'm gonna do like more is more kind of, and just have a whole lot of stuff happening, because why not? I'm just gonna add a little bit of bling there. And I'm using these are nail sticker things. And this is from the diamond painting. You know, those diamond paintings that are all over the place, or were all over the place. Well, I find that these pens that come with the diamond paintings are so handy for what we do. I probably should be more specific. Handy for like this sort of stuff. It's not the greatest thing I've made in my life, but it will do for my purpose today. Okay, I think I'm gonna go with this, and what I'm gonna do now is ink some edges and maybe add some sewing. I'm really not sure exactly where this is going. So for now, what I'll do is maybe I'll add a little bit of glue just to kind of keep that book page in place. Move this for now. I might thread something here, maybe something like this. I like how that looks, and now I'm changing my mind. Maybe I don't want that on the spine. Maybe I can bring this in. I can go really a lot of ways with this. That can be my front cover. And I'll just stick with what I started, and I'll think of what to do with this later on. Now I'm gonna add a stitch here. Great stuff. So these two are now attached. Okay, I'm gonna do some edge inking. This is kind of, you can see it, well, it's not stuck. I was gonna say it's stuck. It doesn't get stuck that easily. Make this real grungy, inking the edges. And now before I start gluing these pieces down, what I'm going to do is glue this down in place, because why not? Then I can do something with this. Maybe I'll just glue the front down, and then perhaps I can do something with the back. Gluing that right down. Maybe we can like smush that up a bit here. Look at that grunge. Oh, you know what I need? I need some type of a feather. And maybe I don't need this. Wow, look what I found. You know when you're hoarding something for years, waiting for that perfect project? I think this is the project. We have a feather that we can pretend is like a fountain pen, kind of the feather thing. And then all the ink has kind of been poured out during the writing of the love letter. I'm just making all this up as I go, which makes me think that now I need a tiny little envelope. That's why I was telling you about my thoughts. So, okay, I found an envelope. This one's too big. I can make my own. I'm trying to hurry. I don't have all day and I have to kind of finish earlier today than usual. So I'm just improvising here. I'm gonna go with this envelope. It is what it is. All right, so I'm going to hide a lot of that envelope underneath. It will be a non-functional envelope, but now I'm thinking I'm gonna leave it open. I'm just going to start gluing things down. All right, that's looking good. Remove that. I'm gonna come back to that later. I'm just going to apply glue all over here on the skin and glue it down in place, lifting up sections and applying glue. Next thing I'm going to do is turn this around and chop all of the excess off. Okay, that's all I have left of that skin. And just deciding what I'm going to do over here. Okay, I'm going to take this to my sewing machine now. And I'm just going to sew around the edges of the whole thing. And that way, you know, that's going to ensure that the skin is completely in place and it's not gonna go anywhere. Otherwise, you just apply glue. But anyway, I'm just gonna do that and I'll be right back. Okay, here we go. You seriously can't go wrong with grunge. I left a pocket here, so there's like a little thing at the back. I can always glue it down if I want. I scrunched up the top of that thing there. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a little something in this envelope. I wish I had an actual letter, like a little letter, you know. But I can't find one right now and I'm in a hurry, so this is what it's gonna be. Actually, I found a little something that's gonna work. Just trying it out. Now I'm thinking I want a lot of these postcards spilling out and all over the place. Maybe something like this. What do we think? Postcards filling all over the place. It just didn't seem finished. Perhaps it needs a little sentiment just to make it make sense. So maybe it doesn't, oh, I nearly cut my finger off. Maybe it doesn't have to make perfect sense, so we can just have something like this in there. You know. Okay, now I'm just gonna glue everything down. And I'm going to add a little something up here. And here we go, the final touch done on this journal cover. All I have to do now is add a signature in here, which unfortunately I don't have time to do at the moment. But this is just one way of using your skins. And look how beautiful that looks. You can see that beautiful texture, and I love how it's all crinkled up, and it just looks really beautiful, I think. So now I'm going to show you all the other projects that I made using my acrylic skins, and hopefully that's going to give you lots of ideas. Unfortunately, again, I won't be able to use this one today, so that's going to be in another project. But from now on, I'll be using this cheesecloth when I'm making the skins. All right, this skin here is the very first skin that I made, and the choice of color isn't the best, but the very first idea that I had in my mind for the skins is to use it in a dress. So initially I was searching for magazine images and I wanted to like apply the dress or the skirt onto a magazine image, but I just didn't find a good magazine image. So I ended up using this, just a little something that I had in my stash, and then I kind of played around with collage and adding things and adding bling and these flowers and this sentiment here and just gluing little bits and pieces down. You can see I did some book corners or little corners on the edges there, and that's what I have. I love how this looks. Proportionally, it's not the best. It's a very, very long skirt for a little lady. You know, her legs would probably end about here, and look at this. But it's okay, you know, it's just an idea that you can play around with, and this sort of thing is beautiful to be hung onto your wall as a piece of artwork. The second piece that I made, which I'm not entirely excited about, is this. I put it behind a piece of acetate. You can see that shine. And I mean, you can still see the texture of the skin, but you can't really feel it, and it's kind of hidden behind something, which for me defeats the purpose a little bit. So I didn't finish this. I just kind of left it as it is. I will go back to this and finish it and add stuff to it to make it look fun. But I feel like with the skins, I don't want them to be hidden behind anything or inside anything, like inside journals. And that's why I didn't go with the tags and that kind of stuff. Actually, I did. But we'll come back to that. All I wanted to say is, for this kind of thing, I can just go with simple scrapbook paper. I don't need to go making skins to do something like this. I mean, simple scrapbook paper behind acetate will do the job as well. So I really wanted the skins to be the star of the show, as I've said before. And you will also see on YouTube, if you have a look, there's plenty of videos on using the acrylic skins to make jewelry. So I can't remember what these things are called. These are very old and they've gone yellow. They're supposed to be clear. But this is another thing. It's a route I didn't take because I'm not into jewelry making, but you can make jewelry with your skins. You can use these to make pendants and all sorts of fun stuff, rings and necklaces and things like that. Even things for journals that you can stick on the journal covers and stuff. So that's just an idea that I kind of personally didn't expand on, but you can if you want to. All right, here's another thing that I made. And this is also a journal cover, and I actually made it into a journal. I have a signature bound in there, but I was going along the lines of collage. So added a whole bunch of pieces. You can see book page. This is actually a piece where I was using up the paint. Gluing things down, I have a bit of fabric here. I have some threads, and then of course I have the skins. I just cut out by hand, cut out some circles, non-perfect circles, glued them down and used yellow pages on the inside to tie in with the yellow here with that very first skin that I made. And it kind of all blends in nicely when we have that bit of yellow picking out, and it's all, you know, even though it's different colors, it works. Next thing I made are some buttons, and this again is that skin that I was talking about, and you can see how shiny that is. I actually covered that in this stuff, glossy accents, and you can use diamond glaze and all sorts of stuff, but it's not cheap and not everyone has it. And to be honest with you, you don't need it. Like you can see these buttons here, they're just the skin. I didn't cover them with anything, and they still have shine and texture, and it's fine without any type of glazing. And I think they look pretty cool, and you can make like oversized buttons if you remember, or if you've seen my video on making these giant buttons, I'm gonna link it down below. You can use the acrylic skins, of course, for this project as well. Then again, I made little things like this, little mini journals. Just used a piece of the acrylic skin, a book page and a sentiment, and again this is also using up the paints, and that's a little mini journal there. Pretty much the same thing for this tag as well. This is again using up the paints, and then a book page and a little bit of the skin down here. We're just layering. Imagine all the fun you can have. You can layer acrylic skin, book page, acrylic skin, book page. You can make like a landscape, you know, using that method. This one here looks like planets, doesn't it? To me it does. I love how this one looks. And also again, this is just using up the paints, just on a little bit of cardstock, and then layering the skins rather than book page skin. Here I just did 2 different skins, and it looks very stellar, very universe, planets, I don't know, that's what it reminds me of. And I have a sentiment: replace the fear of the unknown with curiosity, because somehow like the universe and the vastness of everything gives me a little bit of trepidation or a little bit of fear of that huge universe. And then, you know, replace the fear of the unknown with curiosity. That's why I put that there. Okay, another thing that I did is pretty much the same what I did on this project today, which is putting the skin in a little frame. So I happen to have these little frames. I'm not sure where it says Kohl's, but I probably got it from an op shop or something. And then this is the last thing that I made, again, just for a little bit of inspiration and to give you ideas. I was going to make a mosaic kind of look. So I just drew a butterfly shape on cardstock and cut it out, did a bit of stamping, painted it with some glitter paint, and then I was going to fill up the whole thing with acrylic skins. But to be honest, it was just taking way too long and I gave up on it. So I ended up leaving it just as it is, like this. Even have a bit of sewing in there, stuck down a few of those nail art pieces, and I have a little thing that I'm not sure what I'm going to do with yet, but hopefully it's going to give you some ideas. And there we have it. You make the skins and then you go to town making wonderful projects. So many things that you can do. This dress would have looked really nice, much better than this one, I think, but that's okay. I can make another lady with a dress or a skirt with this skin later on. I can't fit all of the projects on screen, but I think you get the idea. I hope that you feel like you want to go and make some acrylic paint skins. And look, I have plenty of leftover skins to use. I can't wait to use the cheesecloth one, so that's probably going to be another video. But in terms of this video, I think I am done. And I have to say, I really enjoyed the process of making the skins and making all these projects. This project has to be my favorite, followed very closely by this project here. And this lady is going to be hanging somewhere in my craft room. I hope you feel inspired. Please let me know what you think. Are you going to be making some acrylic paint skins, or have you made some in the past? Let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!